Anyway, on to another week. We'll do a bit of pathways action for you shortly, where Pete's going to tidy up the 2-year-olds. We might touch on something else, don't know. We'll just see how we go. And hopefully Pete can edit that up and get it to you sometime today, but it's been a big show.
It's a pretty grey old meeting. Should have just had a public holiday.
Yeah. G'day punters, welcome to the deep dive public holiday here in Victoria, or just Melbourne, I don't know. But we're unable to get into the Betfair office today, so we're filming on location here in Seaford. So let's get into it, Peter. We've got a big Super Saturday meeting at Flemington to get through as a deep dive point of view.
Oh.
Some big performances, some proper Group 1 racing and some proper Group 1 times, some tricky races to assess. If we look at the overall pattern for the meeting, we didn't want to be rails and run.
Yeah, rails and run was completely cast.
It wasn't necessarily that easy to lead.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to be too far back at the same time.
Yep.
You wanted to be midfield, one off as a rule. How did you see the meeting, Peter?
A little bit underwhelming. I think we've had some really good competitive racing over the last, month or two. And I mean, probably the big races in the end were pretty dominantly won. So it was a little bit disappointing from that point of view. But having said that, if you backed them, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we didn't back many of them on Saturday, but that's racing. We still had a pretty good week. Assessing the meeting they're going forward, there's a few of these that sort of look like grand final races. There's a few of these that were blessed in run. I think you need to be opinionated.
Yep.
But not overly. Where are some of these going?
Well, that's probably the hard part. You'd have to think that if a few of these went up to Sydney for another grand final, they're going to get pretty much slaughtered.
Yeah.
Especially if they were suited on Saturday, or the previous Saturday, as it was with, a few of these meetings that they're just developing that pattern. You really have to be quite harsh on horses that were suited. Can't sack winners, but horses that performed above their expectations, I think you have to be really, really harsh against.
Yeah, so race 1's 2-year-old race.
Yep.
We might have seen a pretty decent 2-year-old.
Yeah, so just running off the...
It killed Montasira.
Yeah.
Who I think should have almost won the Blue Diamond.
Yep.
So it's a pretty relevant form line for anyone playing at home. This horse killed it. Menage. What did it do to the clock, Peter? It was half backed. They didn't go off, because I don't think the market, a bit like us,
didn't really know.
Really sack Montasira, could you?
So in terms of the puntingform.com.au data, for the class, they've gone 4.3 lengths fast. So a fast race overall to the 600. But really, just as they went towards the finish, and we have a look at the overall adjusted figure, Menage is really the only one that's clocked anything that's above benchmark.
But it's not that far above benchmark.
No.
It's come home in a 0.4, 0.5, and then a 1.8 slow. All those numbers are slow for the all average. And there's been 2-year-olds that have gone a lot quicker than that. I don't think this horse can compete in a versus these Sydney 2-year-olds.
Yeah.
In the slip-off. Yeah?
I think there's some clubhouse leaders up in Sydney that look far better equipped than what they've shown so far.
Yeah, I'm happy to be against it. I'm happy to be against anything out of this race moving forward, this campaign.
Yep.
What's next, Peter?
Look, we'll skip ahead to race 5, and I mean, really, we just want to talk about race 5 from a betting point of view. The winner in Wild Planet, we had...
although this is a listed race,
yeah,
he's run a group figure.
Yep. So although it looked effortless and it was winning a long way from home, in terms of what they've done, it's a fast run race for the class. Again, 2.6 lengths fast to the 600. Serious suspect, you would think, dropping back in trip,
Could
something
be
like that.
a moral anywhere it wants to go.
Yeah. Rock hard fit, that horse. But Wild Planet was just trucking along, really.
Clock 3 negative splits, closing off a really strong early tempo.
Yep.
Big win. Proper horse. I want to follow it anywhere it goes.
And in terms of the overall money as well, it was almost just one-way traffic. There was just these huge clumps of about 30,000, 40,000 matched at
We
a
took
time.
like 226, 228, 230 maybe when it left the yard. It was one of the ones we got right on Saturday from the mounting yard. Probably should have sent this as a mover. Same with Spend.
Yeah.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, didn't. It started like $2.05.
Yep.
It went off late last.
Yep.
It was absolutely crunched and pissed in.
It was one of those where seemingly everybody was with it or wanted to be with it the whole week, and often they are fraught with danger.
Anything else out of the race, Peter, that caught your eye? I thought maybe the black booker of the entire day comes out of this race.
Princess Jenny.
Princess Jenny,
Johnny.
Bright Oak, astute operation down there in Mornington, not far from here.
Yep.
It could go back to mares. It's run a huge figure first up. It savaged the line. Clocked some of the best closes on the day, I think. Let me just check that for. Yeah, 26th, 15th, and 12th. So it's built into its work. Got through the line beautifully. I think it's on track for a really big preparation. Princess Jenny, my horse to follow from the meeting out of race 5.
Sure.
The big Wild Planet race. What's next, Pete?
Oh, look, I guess you have to touch on the Newmarket, don't you? It was a decent enough race.
Now, whilst we spoke earlier about the circle races you want to be rails and run.
Yep.
If you go back and look at your post-race speed maps, you wanted to be on pace, better than midfield down the straight. Bivouac was suited here.
Yeah.
It absolutely killed him. But just the greying up of this beautiful sport will continue, because now Exceedance, who was so heavily backed, bit like Bivouac in the Oakley Plate, now has the dominant SP over Bivouac, and they'll probably meet again, I assume.
Which is great, because last time Bivouac met Exceedance, Bivouac started favourite. That was the Coolmore, down the straight.
Yeah.
Now it's just reversed it. Bivouac coming off that first start at Caulfield where it just clearly wasn't suited at all. It was in the worst part of the track. And then here it is, just put into the spot by G-Boss and completely brains them.
Yeah. Look, I don't know what to do. Loving Gabby's a super horse, doesn't run a bad race. Yep. I think the horse that you can follow out of the meeting, out of this race outside the obvious, is Tefane.
Yep.
It's really, really strong. It wasn't suited. It's probably a pretty poor ride, considering they were down the straight. It lost momentum at key stage. I think it can improve and be followed with confidence. Bivouac has a bit of an ace up its sleeve, I think, versus Exceedance, and it's the tactical speed it has.
Yeah. Heavily supported late as well. It was right at the death, but Bivouac around that sort of 7:40 mark or so in towards its starting
it's
price.
Just complete grey up. Like, we found this on top from the yard, and
I personally backed it.
I didn't.
I was launching at it. The other horse.
We live and we learn.
The other horse that was backed quite strongly throughout, especially going in towards those last few minutes, was the Inevitable.
What was the tactics on this thing?
Well, I don't know. And it did seem that if you were hard outside fence, sort of those 2-3 lanes off the outside fence, that was really no good. You just wanted to almost be a couple off in the middle, forward position like Bivouac was.
Like the Inevitable mapped to be able to do.
Yeah. But it just wasn't really ridden with any game plan by the looks.
Maybe the horse was too good. I've never seen it look as good as it looked.
Too forward.
I don't know. The first up, last prep down the straight, Empoy rode it. It exploded, killed a good Hawks horse.
Yep.
It looked like it had just been roaming around in the hinterland down there in Tasmania. It was woolly. Just got it done. On Saturday, it was glowing. Perfect order.
Yep. What about Libertini? I mean, the horse as well.
Pulled up lame or something.
Yeah, it was probably in the same sort of boat as the Inevitable.
I don't think you can sack it.
Yeah.
And it again, if you ignore the Newmarket, it's got a really good SP profile versus some of these big players. So I think Libertini's worth following once more.
If it finds
if it
race
returns to its sort of, if they're happy with it, which they would be if it goes to the races, I think it's worth one more chance, Peter.
But overall, it just seemed the Newmarket was a bit, how's your father? Like, it was a race.
You've seen how he is. He's just hanging in there, the big boy.
Very good. Race 7.
What he's
the
done
CUNY.
to Mountain Goat stock since he's got here, honest to God.
Their stocks are rising.
Oh, we've gone through our allocation. Our month's allocation in a week. The CUNY Stakes, Peter, what a race. Race 7 there at Roundwick. Ruby Saki's returned a career PB. Just above its other 2 big performances, which all 3 have been at headquarters, Peter. It loves the big straight, doesn't it?
Well, it was trucking into the race. Look, it was an even tempo overall. 0.7 lengths slow to the 600.
J Carr, great ride on Pretty Brazen, which we were on. Almost good enough, but not quite. Fasciano clocked the fastest last 200 metres of the entire day. It can be followed. Tenley went well. I thought Score, positive ride from Regan Bayliss, and probably at the discretion of Sads, our man John Sadler. Rails in run, Coffin, probably went as good as any horse did from that position all day. I think Score is a horse with good ability and just needs to find the right sort of race,
Yep,
Peter.
completely agree. Yeah, what do we do with some of the others though? I mean, Big Daddy's horse was 3 wide cast.
Wasn't an awful position though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 3 wide, you'd rather be
Rich
3 wide
Hips,
than rails.
Sack,
Yep.
South Bank, it's just Sack Pike. Why have they stopped putting this horse into the race?
Yeah, can't answer that.
Barrier 1 though, you can't sack it.
Yep.
You can't sack it. You can't sack Chassis, South Bank, drawn 1 and 2. Rich Hips, drawn 4, but was 1-1 in run, good spot. Mrs. Beckham, Chris Simons. Fucking great ride.
Yeah.
Pretty big day for Chris. He's interviewing everyone on a horseback, sucking down, punching a dart in between, and then he's gone out and ridden this horse and he's nailed it. Horse wasn't good enough, the ride was outstanding. Great ride, Chris Simons. There's probably a ride of the race here.
Yep.
From barrier 8.
Are we following anything out of this?
Yeah, Fascino and Tenley and maybe Score.
Yep. Okay, the Australian Cup, race 8.
I've deep dive this myself, as I do each and every Sunday, Peter. We look at them on a Saturday.
Yep.
The last 2 races, definitely the last race I don't look at much. I try and get out of there pretty quickly, especially when you're back Aretha in Sydney, probably harder than you should have, and Ross Brodie crows at home at the 200 and it gets run over in the last 20 metres. Thanks, Ross. Still appreciating that. I had to dock the wages a little bit for that behaviour. I thought this race, I've deep dived, I thought it was just like boring. I couldn't get excited about. I know it's sick, and probably most people don't understand this or feel the same, but I get quite excited going back and finding angles and, oh yeah, I learnt something there, or I figured that out. I thought this race just stunk. Harlem, good again. What do you do? Vow and Declare went great, but had a great ride.
Yep.
Regal Power could probably win if it didn't try and kick its way through a steel fence as it left the Flemington yard.
Yeah, it was enormous.
50 stars. The ride was awful. It was 3 wide and cast.
But it was just
enormous.
better ground. Yeah, it was just better ground than, say, where Avilius was.
Avilius, I still don't know if how angry I am with myself for backing this horse. I love it on type. It savaged the line and it was heavily backed at Caulfield. Tick, tick. It was slaughtered by Hugh Bowman behind Tiago Shark, who might be a superstar. Ran home as fast as it last start. It's a day where you can win from the back in the longer races, and you definitely can win from wide. It's drawn barrier 9.
And on the
I think it was a bad bet and I regret it, but I don't like the ride at all. I'm disappointed with the ride, as you can probably pick up on. 50 stars. It's gone to a new level. Ex-Weir horse that just keeps improving.
Kingswood Dream wasn't suited. Gate 1.
It's hard to be overly forgiving, Peter. It's lost by 6.5 lengths.
Yeah, but you know, the inside's cast.
Wasn't suited. Agreed.
Avilius went enormous as always. What's its grand final?
Constantinople, never again.
Yep,
gone. Suited, great ride, boss.
Yep. Harlem wasn't suited. Fence. Forgive.
I thought Harlem was suited.
Yeah, but it was on the
Staying
way.
race, I think it's less relevant.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a fucking pretty good ride.
Yeah.
She presented it right at the top of the straight, ready to go.
What do you think of the commentary around William Pike apparently presenting Regal Power too early?
Like, who said that?
Oh, it was just, again, in the Sunday wash-up, so to speak. It's like, what is he expected to do?
I don't think anyone outside of, like, Craig Williams, Damien Oliver, and maybe Dwayne Dunn, depending on which Dwayne Dunn we're getting, because he might be the best, but he can also be the worst. Should question Willie Pike.
That ride was outstanding on a horse that...
I can't believe how well the horse went after his parade.
Yeah.
And just the fact that it's Western Australian. But I'd much rather my horses, if I had backed this particular runner, Peter, to peak and stop, if it stopped, then be a flashing light run, especially in a Group 1, if I'm backing it or if I'm owning it.
It was an outstanding ride.
Yeah?
It was absolutely, like, Pike's been close now in a couple of chances down the Flemington straight. Don't know who he's picking between Superstorm and Regal Power, which is backing up in the ASM.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'd rather be a Superstorm though.
I think Regal Power's ride's pretty strong. Like,
Still run the fourth fastest
second
last
fastest
200.
last 12, 10, 8, 6 and 4 of the race. And it has peaked on its run slightly, but mate, he's riding a 500 kilo beast that's tried to put itself through a fence in the Group 1 race at headquarters. I thought the ride was pretty strong.
Yep.
He got cover the whole way. Fun.
I'll put it this way, like 50 stars at barrier 13, Regal Power at barrier 12. Which was the better ride?
Yeah, the better ride was Regal Power.
Yeah, for sure.
The better performance was 50 stars. 50 stars is a proper
It's
beast.
a proper horse, yeah. Proper horse.
Yeah, like despite the pattern of the day, I think the right horses are in the finish here.